All right, hey, what's up, guys? How's everybody doing out there? Another Tuesday night. Sorry, I'm a little bit later than usual. I played golf today, so didn't get home until a little bit later. As usual, I put a you have to put a title on a video, so I just titled it "Passing Game." But we can talk about anything you guys want to talk about. It doesn't have to be about that title, but I have to put a title on the video, so I just put "Passing Game" down. If anybody wants to talk about what we do or uh, how we do things in the passing game. But as usual, anytime we do any of these YouTube live, any questions, any topics, anything you want to talk about will be good. Hope everybody's staying safe out there. I think we're week 7 now, somewhere about that, into the coronavirus stuff, middle of March sometime, depending on what state you're in or where you are, kind of coming out of it a little bit. Yeah, we can do that, Lorenzo. We can talk inside run, inside zone power. Um, ask any questions you want, Lorenzo, and myself or whoever's here on YouTube Live will certainly give our opinions or our version of it. Yeah, K Beatty, how are you, bud? How's Arizona doing? Michael, we if we are 10 personnel, we start with good seeing you, Willie. If we are 10 personnel, we start with 5-man protection, and the reason we do so is our running backs are not the greatest. Our running backs are not the greatest in pass protection, and you can't cut at where we're at in Florida. So I'd rather release the running back, even though we'll have to throw hot off 5-man pressures sometimes, that depending on who we declare with the center or where we turn. But we can go 6-man, we can go 7-man, we can make any calls we want. But 10 personnel, we start with 5-man free release stuff just because. I don't think our backs are great in protection. So, as a coach, personally, one of my on offense and defense, one of my pet peeves is I try and put players in situations that they can excel at. So, I think our backs are better out in routes. We free release kind of flare our backs 90% of the time just because as an up tempo team. We don't. I don't like tagging 9 million routes to the back, so we free release them to flares and kind of expand the defense horizontally a little bit. Not good for us when we run 4 verticals. We'd rather check down, and some other theories we'd rather check down. But we start with 5-man protection, and we start with free release, kind of push flares. Um, I like inside zone, Lorenzo, best for RPO stuff because you can take your inside zone stuff and you can tweak it a little bit. You can split flow it and kick an end. You can insert on an inside backer. You can trap an inside technique. Just a couple simple tags with inside zone makes it a little bit more exotic than power, but we certainly will use power to RPO sometimes. Anything that we can block 6-on-6 in the box, and then RPO off of number 7. But if you're asking me my preference, I would choose inside zone over power for RPO stuff. Good to hear Arizona's going back to normal. We are businesses are kind of operating almost not necessarily back to normal here in Florida, but restaurants have opened up with limited capacity and limited people at tables and where you can sit and how they can serve. So we'll see what happens in the next month or so. Yeah, we always first uncover turn K Beatty. That's just a rule for us. So if we're going to we're a half slide team, so if we 5-man protect, or even if we 6-man protect, first uncovered from the play side, from what we determine as the play side or the call side, that's pretty much the man side for us, and then the back side becomes the zone side. So we're going to turn away from that. So we are going to first uncovered lineman on the man side is going to start to turn. Davon, you have to, if you're not involved in coaching, you have to volunteer at a junior high school or a Pop Warner organization, or a high school, or anywhere you can volunteer and put your time in. And you got to get started somewhere. You've got to make yourself valuable as an assistant coach. You've got to do anything that they ask you to do, whether it be film or uniforms or whatever it may be. You got to get in the door first. And once you get your foot in the door, then you can prove yourself as a valuable football coach, and then kind of climb the ladder from there. So that's where I give my advice all the time to people that want to get into coaching. Volunteer at your local junior high, high school, or Pop Warner, and work your way up from there. We are always no-huddle, James. We have different tempos. Kind of the theory I like to use is fast, faster, fastest. So our base no-huddle is something that we would like to play fast. And then we can go faster with some tempos where we we are staying in the same formation and not changing formations and playing calls, so we can go faster. And then the fastest way possible for us is to call a play that we run over and over again until I decide to kill it. So we'll run an RPO with an access throw, and we'll call our speed ball tempo. And when we do that, we're going to run that play over and over again until I kill it. So we might run it twice in a row. We might run it 4 times in a row, 5 times in a row, depends on how good it's going, but that's the fastest we can play. So we're always no huddle. We go fast, faster, fastest, and then we have a check with me or a freeze tempo that we use at the line of scrimmage. So that's just what we do. Willie, I wouldn't change my concepts from under center to shotgun. I carry, if we're going to talk about drop back concepts, we are a 3-man snag team. We're a curl flat team. We are a flood team, or a trying to Y sail in air raid terminology. I try and avoid the best I can a lot of concepts that occur over the middle. We will run mesh, but we'll read it a little bit differently than maybe some other people to kind of keep the reads outside the tackle box for the quarterback. I'm not a big fan of shallow cross. I'm not a big fan of drive, just because in my experience as a head coach, it's not that I don't like the theories. Excuse me. I love the theories. I love the plays. But in 22 years of coaching high school football, I've had a lot of quarterbacks that are under 6 feet tall, and they don't really do well throwing the ball over the center or over the middle. So we try to keep our reads kind of outside of that. So, but under center to shotgun, to me, I don't think I would really change my 5-step concepts, Willie, if that's what you're asking. Let me see if I can type it in here, James. That's my email, James. Kevin, our quick game is very simplistic in nature. We do not mirror routes on both sides. We have concepts on each side of the ball, and we have what I would consider tight man or hard corner concepts, and then we have off man or soft corner concepts. So we'll throw hitches on the front side paired with double slants on the back side. We'll throw verticals on the front side paired with a hitch in and out on the back side. Just things where if we're getting soft coverage, the quarterback has a place to go with the ball. If we're getting hard coverage, then the quarterback has a place to go with the ball. The only time we ever, tempo-wise, the only time we ever get into trouble with that is when we call a concept and to the soft side, they're playing hard coverage, and to the hard side, they're playing soft coverage. So normally going into a game plan, we know how they play coverage, where they play coverage, down and distance, tendencies, uh, on the field position wise, how they play coverage. So normally I got a pretty good idea what they're going to do to the field, what they're going to do to the boundary, so I can call my concepts that way. But every once in a while we will be wrong, and then the quarterback's either got to eat it and get us back to the line of scrimmage or throw a ball away. But our quick game concepts are fairly simple. We still carry them. Everybody asks me if we carry them, even though we RPO. We still carry um, quick game concepts. I like rhythm throws. I like easy throws for the quarterback. So yes, we still carry them, but we are not overly involved with an abundance of quick game stuff. We keep it simple, and it works really, really well for us. A couple of years I found invaluable my growth as a coach. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you watching. If you guys didn't watch and participate, then what I do is kind of irrelevant. So it's really it's more what you guys do than it is what I do. Willie, I have not used an attached tight end in 12 years at least. We are probably this season going back to attached tight ends, and we're going to play more out of 11 personnel and then some Y off stuff where we can move the tight end a little bit. But we've been a 10, 20, 30 personnel team for the last 12 years. So I really, speaking from the last 12 years of experience, I really can't help you with when we would use attached tight ends because we haven't used them. But I will say that we are going back in that direction just to give us some three-man surface and just to kind of wrinkle what we've done. I've been doing the same things for about 10 or 12 years on offense, and we need to kind of change it up a little bit. So we're going to use some inline tight ends and some attached tight ends, but haven't used them in 12 years. My theory has always been when I don't have a tight end, I think I narrow down the fronts that we see for my linemen, and then I narrow down the combinations that we need to work. So now we're getting into center guard tackle combinations. We never have to get into tackle tight end combinations. So it's just been something for us that kind of spawned out of simplicity's sake and something that I wanted to do as a tempo team. I wanted to limit fronts and limit some blocking schemes and limit the combinations that we needed to work on for practice time. But I think it's come to a point where we need to start using some attached tight ends a little bit more. Who else is out there? What we got? All right, James, I've been coaching for 22 years all on defense. I've been finally on defense when we went to 4-5. This is going to be my first year as the offensive coordinator. Do you have some advice for me? Yeah, here's my first set of advice, James. You know the things as a defensive coordinator that give you trouble. You know the things as a defensive coordinator that you have struggled with. So choose some things on offense that maybe have given you problems as a defense. Try to choose things that, dependent upon the school, that you are at, you think fit the personnel. Try to choose things that, regardless of the personnel, you could do either way. So for us as a 10, 20, 30 personnel team, what I chose to do the last 10, 12 years is, we've got inside downhill runs, we've got power runs, we've got gap runs, we've got perimeter runs, and then we've got some passing game stuff. And when I've got a quarterback and some wideouts that can throw it and I can protect them, we'll throw it a little bit. If we can't throw it and protect them, then we'll run it. But within the scheme that we use with our tempo stuff and our RPO stuff and our 10, 20, 30 personnel, it's very good year to year to kind of have a base offense that you can fit around your personnel. I am not big on changing, your offense every 2 years because your personnel changes. I realize as a high school coach for 22 years that your personnel is going to change. But as a head coach, what I will tell you that drives me nuts is when you get ninth grade kids or lower level kids, and you're teaching them something, and then 2 years later it changes. I don't think that's a good way to build a program. I don't think that's a good way to build a system. So we like to teach the same things, and then we like to tweak where we're heavy from year to year, depending on our personnel. So that's why I've been 10, 20, 30 personnel, or, why we're going to an 11 personnel team, because, if we can, if we're very good at running back and up front and we can run the ball, then we have the means to do it. If we're not as good up front, or we got a great quarterback and some wideouts and we can throw it, we have the means to do it. So I try to use a system that is great, uh, kind of for multiple personnel, and then I can kind of adjust the system to the personnel I have. I cannot stand when guys change offenses every 2 years based on the personnel they have. I just don't think that's a good way to run a program. A lot of teams out there do it, and they do it really well. Um, Several ways to skin a cat. I'm not saying that you can't do that, but as a head coach, I want to sink my teeth in ninth graders early, and I want to teach and coach and build fundamentals and techniques and things that carry over. So that's just how I choose to do things. Yeah, we start open closed and kind of base it off of that. So, you're looking at one or two high structures and making some base decisions off that. Then you're looking at leverage and depth of corners and leverage and depth of safeties and where the overhangs are, and then trying to figure out, if you're getting zone or man coverages. So it all starts, I think, middle of the field open, middle of the field closed is a great place to start. And then you just kind of build from there. Our three-man snag is drop back, Corey. Ideas for pass protecting in the spread and nine man. I've James. I cannot lie to you. I've never coached 9-man football. I've never had to coach protection with three linemen. So to sit here and tell you what to do or how to do it would be kind of blasphemous on my part. I don't know anything about that. I don't know the fronts. I don't know where the back goes. I don't know. I can only speak on 11-man football, so I'm sorry, James. I really can't help you there, but we we don't really do a lot on the backside, Willie, other than levels, read away from Mike stuff. So we'll tag levels on the backside of some of our concepts, so that if the Mike linebacker pushes with the back, we go numbers on the backside. I like to carry post wheel on the backside of some concepts, so that if we're getting man, we give ourselves we give ourselves a chance on some man concepts with post wheel on the backside. But I'm not a big fan of building. I'm not a big fan of building things on the backside. Uh, we're a half field team more often than not. We're reading half the field and very rarely getting to the backside unless there's something back there that we like and we signal it into the quarterback like an X post. If we're running curl flat and we've got X post and we think we're getting a coverage or a matchup that's conducive to the X, then we'll signal that into the QB. But we're a half field progression team, not a full field team. So levels is really the only levels and screens, read away from Mike, is probably the only things that we really build into the backside. Um, QB drills. We just kind of rep the footwork and the drops and different drops, and then we rep getting the ball out on command. So as they're dropping, I'll make them drop and push down a line and crossover run, and then I'll clap or blow a whistle on command, and they got to put that back foot in the ground and release the ball. And we'll do simple warm up drills on a knee, on one knee, switch knees, both knees. We'll do some sprint out orientated drills, and then some mesh. Obviously ball handling drills and stuff like that. But I don't think we do anything crazy or fancy with the quarterback. We just try and drill the fundamentals that I think that they need. And biggest thing I can tell you about quarterback play: if you have a kid that can throw it and he throws it well, don't change how he throws it. Don't get overly involved in mechanics. The only time I get overly involved in mechanics is when a kid can't hit the broadside of a barn. Um, then I'll have to change some things up. But if a kid is accurate with decent arm strength, I don't change his mechanics. I just work on footwork, how to get his feet in the right place, how to get the ball out on time, how to understand hots and protection, and I don't change mechanics. That's the biggest, probably the biggest coaching point for quarterbacks I can give you. If they throw the ball well, don't change. Um, for us, Michael, three-man snag, we normally peek the corner pre-snap. A lot of times the corner is going to be a pre-snap read, depending on where their defensive corner is and his leverage and his depth. And if we don't have the corner, we go to snag flat right away. And snag is snag's the first thing we try to throw on rhythm all the time. If the snag's there, we'll take it every time. But we're probably peak corner snag. Flat team is probably the best way I could describe that to you. Yes, James, all of our plays are signaled in, usually only one, maybe two signal callers, but everything we do is hand signaled in. We're no wristbands, we're no signboards, we're nothing verbal. Everything we do is hand signaled in. Veer versus inside zone. If your success in the past, which do you prefer? I think Veer is simpler. I think Veer is an easy way to avoid less negatives. I think inside zone is a better play when the backs can set some blocks up. Um, when you run inside zone, you don't need a lot of vertical movement. You can get some horizontal movement based on how the defense plays, and sometimes the defensive line reacting to blocks can set the cuts up for the back, so you don't have to be as good up front. I think zone sometimes is a little bit better to create leverage. In the run game, I think Veer, you have to understand how to teach. How to teach the back. You have to read an inside backer to be able to get leverage off those down blocks, and he has to understand how to fit off the inside backer. But I think Veer can be easier at times to teach to offensive linemen, but I think zone's a better play if you're asking me. Coach, how are you signaling plays from the sideline? I'm looking for the simplest way our head coach like running plays and plays. No, we just hand signal. We hand signal everything in. We don't run anything in with players. We hand signal everything in. I'm getting tired. As an OC, I want more control personnel. Any thoughts? I would signal everything if that's what you're asking me, Hefe. If you answered your own question, then God bless you, but I would signal everything. I would not run plays in and out. That's me. We've been going every Tuesday night, James. I've been trying to go every Tuesday night, anywhere between 8:30 and 9:30. The last 6 weeks, I think we've gone every Tuesday night. Just per se, I've got Sunday night chats that I do on Twitter, and then Tuesday night just has seemed to be a good night, so I'm trying to keep it on Tuesday night. Greg, it's not that hard, honestly. You just got to come up with hand signals. You've got to come up. You've got to come up with hand signals, and you've got to come up with ways to communicate to all of your players. If you want to signal to the quarterback who then tells guys to play in the huddle, that's something to do, but I don't recommend that. I recommend tempo. I recommend no huddle because I think you get more reps in practice. You just got to come up with the right communication and the right signals and verbiage, and you may have to tone some things back in your offense a little bit and make some things simpler within your verbiage. But it's not hard to do once you start doing it, Greg. Believe me. I don't even know another way to do it now. I played receiver in college and in high school in the late '80s, early '90s, and I ran plays in, and that's, to me, that's 30 years ago, and I've been a no huddle signal team for the last 15 years of my life, so I don't know any other way to do it. But communication and verbiage, your signals, and how you do it is the most important part. But once you set your mind to it and start doing it, then you do it in practice every day, and it just becomes routine. So it's really not that difficult. I think Nick, to answer your question, any two high teams that can spin down to one high and make you throw away from rotation, and make your quarterbacks recognize rotation and throw away from that, I think are probably the toughest coverages to deal with. But to be honest with you, the toughest coverages to deal with are the defenses that play their coverages well, whether it's, three deep, rip match three deep, quarters concepts, man free concepts, it doesn't matter what the concepts are. The teams that understand how to relate to patterns and distribute patterns and trade and pass some things off, or the teams that understand, how to bracket or play man effectively. The teams that are really good on defense, those are the toughest. Uh, to be honest with you, the toughest to play against. But if you're asking from a X's and O's type deal, two high teams that can spin down and have multiple safety insertion points is the toughest to read, in my opinion. Any suggestions on how to stay simple and steer away from complicating stuff? You have limitations. Yeah, here's the toughest part. There's always, especially during the off season, and especially now with coronavirus and lockdown and all the shit that's going on. There's going to be so many theories on paper that look great. There's going to be so many theories on a playbook that look great, and so many theories that you draw up that look absolutely phenomenal. And the bottom line is I've been doing this a long time, and I just got tired of calling plays that I thought were good plays that our kids really couldn't execute, or they didn't execute well. And I finally figured out after a while that a good play is based on the result, not on the call. So, there's times where you call good plays that you think are good plays, and it's a shitty result. And there's times that you call plays that you think are dead and it's a good result. So, to be totally honest with you, at the end of the day, a good play is based off the result of the play, not the call that you made. You can live with yourself and sleep a little bit better at night, feeling like you made great calls, but that's just kind of self satiating, or trying to make yourself feel better about what you're doing. At the end of the day, a good call is a good result. So, there's, for me, it's more, it's just experience and getting away from theories and getting down to what actually we do, and what we do that we like, and what we do that works. Theories sometimes are really great in the off season. They're really great during coronavirus and times like this. But you get too many theories and you end up jack of all trades, master of none. So find a couple things that you like that work well, and kind of hone in on those is my advice. Um, Depending on who the backup quarterback is, and if he's somebody that we feel like can run our offense, they'll probably get 70-30. Uh, if we have a 10 play script, it'll probably be 7 with the ones and then 3 or 4 with the backup. So 70-30 is probably a good number. If your quarterback is more of an athlete that can't run, um, your full offense, and your offense has to change when that quarterback comes in, then it would be less than 70-30. It would be 80-20, and then the 20% of the reps that backup quarterback gets are the things that you have to run if it's an athlete that you're snapping it to, or whatever the system may be. So we kind of live off 70-30 with a regular backup quarterback, and then 80-20 if we go to an athlete, or if we have injuries, or if we don't have anybody else. Scanning a defense for us, we try to play at a tempo that's fast enough that our quarterback doesn't have a lot to look at. We don't change formations an awful lot, so we try to keep the picture very simple for our quarterback. We try to get a picture that we can dictate to the quarterback, to where we feel like if we're very simplistic in our formations, and the defense has a base way of lining up, and then their stunts and pressures or coverage adjustments, we want to give the quarterback those pictures and teach off of that. But we, as far as scan, we try not to give the quarterback too much time to kind of scan, because the longer he has, I think the more shit he makes up, and um, the more he gets kind of clouded in his mind. So we try to play fast enough, and then we try to give especially in the run game, we give our quarterback a lot of answers with access throws and RPOs and other things, so that he can handle different boxes and different leverages and different fronts and different pressures. So try to build as many answers in so that he can play fast. But I'm not a big fan of my quarterback thinking a lot. I don't think high school kids need to be thinking too much. I think they need to have enough information as they need to be successful, and don't give them any more than that. How many run plays do you carry or try to carry? We ran 4 last year. Corey, as far as schemes, last year we were a duo team, we were a power team, we were a buck sweep team, and we were a dart team. Those are the 4 schemes that we carried. Off of those, we have different read theories and jet motion things and quarterback runs. But as far as the blocking schemes themselves, those are the only 4 schemes we carried last year. And I do not like carrying more than 4 run schemes. That's just me. If you consider spacing, Josh, part of your, and I think somebody asked me earlier about 4-man. I think Willie said something about 4-man snag. We don't run a ton of 4-man snag. We run some spacing stuff. We do run some, flooded 4 receiver side stuff with spacing. But for us, spacing concepts. If you want to attack those hook zones, or we run a lot of double hitches, a lot of double slants. In the quick game, we don't get crazy. We run stick like everybody else does. We run stick draw, but I don't think you need to get crazy with how you attack hook zones. I think you need to figure out some things formationally that you like to attack the hook zones and attack them in that way. I think in my opinion, people make too many mistakes by carrying too many concepts that you don't really need. How many ways do you need to attack the hook zone is basically what I'm trying to tell you. If you find 1 or 2 ways to attack the hook zone that are good formationally, then go at it that way. I don't think you need 10 ways to attack the hook zone. When I first transitioned from under center triple to gun option, I fell in love with too many. Yeah, it's easy football advance to get. And again, I think the coronavirus is probably going to be the bane of a lot of coaches. I think there's a lot of players that are going to suffer because of coronavirus, because I think a lot of guys are doing their due diligence and working their ass off to get better. And I think there's too much information out there sometimes. And I think guys are going to get too many good theories during the shutdown, lockdown, coronavirus. And I think they're going to try and run them all. So the good coaches, in my opinion, are going to be the guys that take 1 or 2 pieces of information out of the coronavirus and put it in their offense. The bad guys are going to be the ones that take everything out of the lockdown coronavirus pandemic and try and put everything in their offense. But that's just my opinion. Good question, Greg. Offensively, I've looked a little bit at North Carolina. I've studied the 49ers a whole heck of a lot because I think we're going to go back to some wide zone stuff and then some nakeds and action passes off a wide zone. So I've studied more NFL stuff this year with what the 49ers do. Every once in a while, I peek at the Kansas City Chiefs to see what they do. I always go back and peek at the 30 personnel gun option teams like New Mexico and Georgia Southern and teams like that. So that's kind of what I've been looking at in the offseason. North Carolina does some really good things on offense that I've kind of been peeking at. I'm not going to buy into everybody else's flavor of the month and look at LSU. We've already run duo. We've been running our version of duo for a long time. I think LSU was lightning in a bottle with Joe Burrow and some of those receivers, and I think Joe Brady did a great job with them. And I'm not going to fall in love with everything that they did. I've always been a fan of Clemson the last 8-10 years, going all the way back to who was the guy that got the head coach at SMU and then got ran the hell out of there. You guys will know better than I do, but going all the way back to when he was the offensive coordinator at Clemson, I've loved what Clemson does on offense. So that's something I'm always going to peek at. I like going strong side against 3-4 teams. If I'm a spread, if I'm 20 personnel 2 back like we are, I like attacking the twin side. I think there's less that they can do to the twin side. I think that weak side outside linebacker to the single, and then the safety rolling down and doing things. I think that's where they kind of can game up some things. So I like going after the twin side versus 3-4. Generically speaking, when you're playing 3-4 teams, you got to figure out whether they're trying to 2-gap or are they always sending a 4th rusher. Is the 4th rusher coming from the boundary? Is he coming from the weak side? Very good sound 3-4 teams are always going to be tough to attack. But in my experience, I like attacking the twins side of our 20 personnel 2-by-1 sets. That's just me. I think adding an attached tight end will dictate some things to the 3-4 teams. I think if we've struggled in the past with 3-4 teams, it's because we haven't had a tight end attached. So if you play with an attached tight end, I think you've got some bonuses and some leverage that I haven't had the last 12 years. So I would I think double tight ends drive 3-4 teams nuts. So anytime you can add a gap and add a player, I think that makes the 3-4 teams at least kind of show their hand a little bit. 3-4 teams are built on 10 personnel. They're built on spread personnel. So I think if you get them out of their comfort zone and give them kind of 21 personnel or 12 personnel, I think that's your best bet versus 3, 4 teams. We don't run option routes, John, if that's what you're asking me. We don't have a lot of option routes built in. So our quarterback is going to read defenses and he's going to throw the ball based off of what the defenses decide to cover. Um, I've said on various videos that I've done and clinics that I've spoke at, um, I think the quarterback releases the ball. I think the ball leaves his hand so that in theory, you can say the quarterback decides where the ball goes because he's the one releasing it and he's the one throwing it. But in my opinion, when you teach a quarterback the right way, the defense decide where the ball goes, and once the defense kind of determines how they're going to distribute patterns and what they're going to cover, the quarterback should be throwing off of what the defense gives him. So, it's a hypothetical scenario that you really don't want to argue, but I've always kind of devil's advocate. I've kind of asked people, is it the quarterback that's deciding or the defense is deciding? I think the quarterback throws it and releases it, so it comes out of his hands. So obviously he's probably the one you could say makes the decision, but I think he makes that decision based off what the defense does. So in theory, I'm going to tell you that I think the defense dictates where the ball goes. Personally, that's just my opinion. North Dakota State is always good to look at. I rarely look at Michigan. I am not. I am not a Harbaugh fan. I'm not a big fan. I know that the other guy came from Alabama, um, and Michigan probably did some better things this year. But I don't watch Michigan football. Never have. Probably never will. Oklahoma State has always been good to me, and Oklahoma. I think Lincoln Riley's as good of an offensive mind as there is out there. So can never go wrong with Oklahoma. We were a buck sweep team last year, James. So yes, we run pin and pull. Buck sweep is our pin and pull version. That's how we run it. Don't run a lot of horn play or outside zone theories with pin and pull. We were a buck sweep team. So buck sweep is our uh, pin and pull theory. If you were to install a Bob DeVries New Mexico Georgia State style triple, how many passing concepts would you try to install on it? I think for them, because of the time and practice that they need to rep the triple stuff, I think their throws become more action orientated, more 7-man protection, deep shots down the field off of their triple. Maybe some quick game theories, but I don't know how many RPOs they'll carry because their triple option stuff takes a lot of their time. I would think RPOs would build right into that offense if you're asking me, because RPOs in theory are double option theory. So if you're an option team like a New Mexico or a Georgia Southern or Bob DeBess, why not carry RPOs in your deal? Because it's option football. You're meshing, you're riding and deciding and throwing off of somebody. So it's double option football. So I would think RPOs would lend themselves very, very handily to their offense. But because they're triple teams and they're constantly usually leaving a first level defender unblocked, I think that's why you don't see as many RPOs from them. I think they have very limited dropback concepts and then action shots to take down the field, that when their offense and their rushing game is clicking, those action shots are almost unstoppable. So if you're asking me my opinion, that's how I think they build their offense. I wouldn't think they have more than 3 to 4 dropback theories. That's just my opinion. I've never asked any of those guys. I've never seen an install or a you know uh, a composite for those offenses. I would just say that they're probably 3 to 4 dropback schemes, a lot of action shots, maybe some quick game, and then maybe some RPOs. I don't think I've seen a lot of RPOs from them, but I would be RPOing to death if I was those teams, because RPO football is option football. That's just my opinion. Yeah, buck sweep's a great play from the gun football. I agree. John, I've only really heard of 8-man football. I've never heard of 9-man football, so I unfortunately cannot give you a point of contact. I've never even heard of 9-man football. I've heard of 8-man football, but I don't know anybody around here that plays it. I don't know anybody that coaches it. So again, um, I'm just going to be transparent with you. I can't lie to you. I do not know um, anything about it or who coaches it. I am sorry. Is NZ New Zealand, Graham? That's awesome. Um, who was that? Is Nick Price from New Zealand? I know there's been a couple of really good PGA professionals, golfers from New Zealand. Um, Adam Scott's Australia, I think. Um, oh, Graham, maybe you can help John then if you guys are playing nine man. I don't know enough about it. Maybe you guys can kind of talk to each other or hook up through YouTube Live here um, and talk about it. I don't know enough about it. But getting back to your question, Graham, I told somebody earlier the same thing. If you're a defensive coach, I would look at the things that you've had problems defending, and that's what I would install on offense because you're a defensive coach and you know the things that have given you trouble. So I would install things that have given you trouble as a defense. As far as the air raid is concerned, obviously you go right to Mike Leach, you go right to Dana Holgerson, you go right to Hal Mummy, Lincoln Riley. To me, if you want to be an air raid guy in today's world, I go right to Lincoln Riley because they've combined hard run inside downhill runs with um, air raid stuff. So um, I think I would go right to Oklahoma and Lincoln Riley. But obviously, the obvious answer is Mike Lee, Chow Mummy, Dana Holgerson. Those are the obvious answers. I don't think there is a difference, Hefe, if you're asking me. Um, Anytime you're down blocking things and pulling people around that, I don't think um, I don't think there is a difference. Obviously, Buck Sweep has its name from wing T lineage and everything else, but Buck Sweep is basically sealing things down and pulling guards around the edge. I don't see the difference. Pin and pull is basically pinning people inside and an uncovered lineman pulling around that. So Buck Sweep to me is a pin and pull play. I don't know any different as far as what maybe spread teams would consider outside zone, pin and pull if they have rules that they're going to run outside zone and wherever they get leverage, they're going to pin and pull. But Buck Sweep is a pin and pull play, and you'd have to somebody that's a lot smarter than I am would have to tell me where it's different or how it's different. But I have, um, I think Buck Sweep is pin and pull. I don't think there's much difference to it. But that's just me. I don't think as far as spread, I'll ask this question while everybody's here on YouTube. Can anybody here give me an answer to what spread is? I've had this debate with a lot of people before. I don't even know if there's an answer to. I don't know what spread means. I don't. I don't really know. Does it just mean personnel, no tight ends? I really don't know what spread. When teams say they're spread teams, I really don't know what that means. We're a 10, 20, 30 personnel team, but I don't know if I consider us a spread team. We're kind of we're a gap scheme team in the run game, and we've been an air raid ish, if you want to call it that, team in our passing concepts. But I don't really know what spread means. Colton, if we carry a gap scheme, it'll be counter first. That'll be the first thing that goes in. If we can carry a gap scheme with our tight zone and wide zone, counter will be the first thing that goes in. And then depending on how good we are, that power would go in next. But 100% counter is the first gap. When for us running tight and wide zone, the first gap that's going in is counter 100%. Somebody asked me about four verts somewhere. Four verts in high school, I think you can do it. How crazy you get with the route adjustments, obviously, you're always going to have somebody that's a bender so that when you get too high, you have something to go to. I think you're going to need check down routes or underneath routes by the back, or if you run it out of empty, running shallow or something that gets underneath to stretch the field vertically so that you have high lows so that if they take away four verts, you have somewhere to go with the ball. But yes, you can run four verts in high school. How crazy you get with four verts, to me, is a little bit is depending on how much you're going to throw the ball, how often you're going to throw the ball. To me, the air raid teams that throw four verts with a million route conversions are going to throw four verts 15 to 20 times a game, and it's worth it for them. If you're calling four verts 3 times a game, I don't know how crazy you want to get with route adjustments. All right, football. What did I miss? Midline off a buck sweep. Any thoughts? I think midline off a buck sweep can be a great play. Um, are you going to read the front side three or the back side three? Would be my question. Are you if the three technique is front side, are you not going to down block on him? And now the tackle has another rule on top of buck sweep where he doesn't block the B gap as opposed to blocking the B gap. That would be my question. Midline on the backside of outside zone has always been extremely good, and midline tied with buck sweep, I think, could be a very good theory if your kids can handle it and you can teach it. But I would need to know, are you trying to midline the front side or the back side? All right, I got to go back. What mean spread means using the field horizontally, Willie? That's a good answer. I like that. I'll agree, but I don't think it's an offensive system. Do you guys run a lot of screens? It always seems to help if the run game has suffered from a stack box. I think it helped. I think screens help more to slow down some blitzes and some pass rush stuff. I think if you get a stack box, if they're not rushing the passer and not sending a bunch at the passer, I don't know how great screens will be. Screens are always a great way to get the ball to your playmakers in space, but you're trying to slow down. For me, screens, you're trying to slow down pass rush, and if you do get any pressure teams that are man, you're trying to get at least one guy that's playing man blocked and get the ball in space. But I don't know theoretically if screens necessarily mean good versus heavy box or stack box, theoretically, if they're a zone team. Spread the field formation, no hand down, tight end, box count to run, throw short to get people in space, and when they take that away, throw deep. Yeah, that's a good answer too, Hefe. I like it. I just hear the word spread all the time, and I really don't know what people mean, but use the field horizontally, Willie, is good, and Hefe, your answer is good. So I'm good with both of those. I just don't think that's a system, if you ask me. I think it's a philosophy. I think that using the field horizontally with formations is a philosophy. I think spreading the field with formations, and I think that's a philosophy. Box count to run could be a system, but I just don't think spread's a system. You have any good flood concept out of 3x1 or anybody on there? Standard flood out of 3x1, depending on how they play trips. I don't. You talking about inside floods, outside floods? Obviously, outside flood with a vert, sail, and a flat route, depending on how teams play it, are always going to be good out of 3x1. If you're talking about multiple levels on the front side or 3-man levels, or if you're talking about shallow cross or drive or mills or post over dig over shallow or inside floods, then that's a little bit different. This is already asked. Do you prefer mirroring most pass concepts? No, I do not. We do not. I'm sorry. I would lie if I tell you we do not. Snag, 3-man snag is the only thing we mirror to both sides. And the reason we do that is because off of our snag game on the front side, we carry several middle of the field open beaters. So we carry corner post by number 2. We carry wiggle, which is snag and go by number 1. So I always want to keep the middle of the field open. So I run snag on the backside of our 3-man snag. We run 2-man snag on the backside, and the reason we do that is not as a progression, and it's not as part of the quarterback's reads. We do that to keep the middle of the field open because in our 3-man snag game, we have several variations that attack the middle of the field. So we like to keep the middle of the field open. So we mirror our snag game unless we tag levels or screens and read away from Mike. Then we don't mirror it. But that's the only thing we mirror. We don't mirror our quick game, and we do not mirror any of our other drop back concepts or half field concepts where we're going to have a game that we like on the front side, and the back side is going to be conceptually something to take the top off, spread the field, or give us an answer to man or man free. But the backside for us in the passing game is very rarely tied to what we do on the front side, because for me as a high school coach, to say that my quarterback is going to get to a 4th or 5th progression is a little bit absurd. We very rarely protected that well. We very rarely have quarterbacks that can go through all those progressions. So we're usually a 1, 2, 3 and get the hell out team is what we do in the passing game. Can you just run power and counter in an air raid playbook, or do you need more run plays? Can you be successful? No, those are if you're going to run the ball with an air raid offense. I think power and counter. Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma is obviously majored in counter with his quarterbacks and RPOs with OF counter, and then read game with GT counter with Jalen Hurts and some of the Kyler Murray and Baker and some of the guys he's had. So I think power counter gap schemes with the air raid I think is very good, because the thing I'm going to tell you philosophically as a head coach, if you're going to carry power counter gap schemes with your air raid philosophy, it's going to develop toughness in your offense. You're going to develop a mentality in the run game, and then it's going to help your defense defend runs because they have to see gaps in practice. If you are air raid with maybe inside zone and trap or wide, I don't even know what most air raid teams would consider their run game, but if you throw it 50 times a game as an air raid team with very limited gap schemes or downhill runs, your defense is going to suffer. So as an air raid team, I would say that power counter is a good way to go. Inside zone and wide zone is a good way to go. I like inside zone for RPOs. I like wide zone for boots and waggles, or I'm sorry, boots, nakeds, or action passes. So I would RPO off inside zone, and then I would movement pass or action pass off a wide zone. So if I was an air raid team, I'd carry tight and wide zone, but power counter is not a bad way to go. Inside zone midline is an interesting one, another good theory. Inside zone ISO is beautiful, whether you want to insert the front side backer or the back side backer. If you watch the 49ers play, wide zone with an insert on the front side backer is beautiful. Wide zone with an insert on the back side backer, as long as your center in his box count with your wide zone stuff can understand when he needs to get or when he needs to declare the front side inside backer, when he needs to declare the back side inside backer. Those are the things that you need to work through. But front side inserts, back side inserts, all great theories. Mills is like post over dig. So post by 1, dig by 2, usually with maybe a shallow cross coming from the backside. So it's a post dig kind of concept, inside flood, you could call it, or middle of the field flood, stretching the field vertically. So post is the deepest route, dig is the next route, and then some type of shallow is the underneath route. No questions are bad, Raymond. Do not, God bless you for being a youth coach, and there are no ignorant questions, just ignorant people that choose not to ask questions. 7-man pressures besides screens or passes. Best answer. Add helmets to the box if you can. Go 2-back if you can, and quarterback runs. If you're seeing 7-man pressure and you can add 2 backs in the backfield with 3 wides, and then you can run the quarterback and use the other 2 guys as blockers, that'll give you 7 helmets on 7 helmets. If you can run some option schemes and arc release a sniffer to block the 7th guy and read the 6th guy, that'll give you 7 on 7. Bottom line, with 7-man pressures, depending on formations, if they have 7 and you have 6 to block, you're going to get into trouble. So you need to figure out, if they won't empty the box and they stay 7 in the box, you need to add a helmet or you need to read somebody, because you're going to run out of numbers real quick. Hefe, I have not ran wide zone in the last couple of years. I've just been studying it with the Niners. I think it's based on leverage and based on where safety rotation is and based on how they feel they can handle the front. I do know through studying them that they have insert on the front side and insert on the back side. But to ask me when, I would lie to you if I told you that I had the answer. I do not know exactly when. I know it has to do. I've seen some of their playbook stuff. It is absolutely insane. I've seen their install. By the 3rd day of install, they have 18 versions of wide zone. It is absolutely ridiculous, but obviously they're good at it. So I can't tell you when, but I do know that they carry front side insert and backside insert, and it's got to do with fronts and leverage. I just can't tell you what their rule is. The Niners run a shit ton of 2-back wide zone, and they do all kind of shit with use check. They zip them on the backside. They boss them on the front side. They insert them on the play side. They insert them on the backside. They use check 90 different ways. And I don't think it's use check that's the issue to me. It's center, the center, and then the O line knowing who to declare, because every one of those changes the declaration. So, if you're bossing it, your center's probably got to declare the mic. If you're inserting front side, your center's going to declare the will. If you're inserting on the will, your center's got to declare the mic. So those box counts and declarations are all extremely different. I think once you get a good sniffer, it's easy to tell him, "Hey, boss, insert strong, insert weak." You could even use insert and ISO as your terms and say, "Hey, when I say insert, stay strong side. When I say ISO, go backside." That's easy with the sniffer. I think it's the center that's got to be taught. And to me, you need a damn good old line coach to get all that done. But obviously, I've listened to the 49ers O-line coach. He's real good. And obviously Shanahan's brilliant. So they do all that, and they do it really well. My concern in high school would be the center and the O-line. I wouldn't be worried about the sniffer. I think I can do anything in the back I want with the sniffer. I don't think that's hard at all. Sniffer executing those blocks is hard, but getting him to go where I want him is not hard. I think the center would be a huge, huge pain in the ass, declaring fronts and then counting the box and figuring out who he's going to. Alex Gibbs is great, but there's a lot of shit to it. And then Alex Gibbs changed over the years. So depending on when you watched Alex Gibbs, you watch Alex Gibbs one time and then you see a video 2 years later and he's changed again. And that's what made him so good, is he wrinkled all his stuff and changed it, when he found out what gave it issues. But every time you watch it, it's something different. I can't keep track of it. What else we got? This has been another great one, guys. A lot of great questions tonight, a lot of great topics covered. Okay, Chris. Quick breaking routes from your receivers: 3-step slants, 5-step hitches, quick fades, 4-step fade routes where the quarterback's only looking to throw the ball 18 to 22 yards. Those are all balls that we're going to throw off of 1-step. 3-step throws become routes that have to break intermediately or down the field. So the thing you got to keep in mind is the steps that your quarterback takes, the depth of his drop has to time out with the breaks of the receivers. That's what the passing game is all about. You don't want the quarterback holding onto the ball for too long. So if you're going to 1-step, all your routes need to be broken off on the 3rd, 4th, or 5th step of their route. If you're going to 5-step, then your routes are going to kind of progress down the field from there, 8 to 10 to 12 yards, or 7 to 10 steps, however you use your routes. But you must always marry your route depth with your quarterback drop. Those two things have to be married all the time. And then you build your protection around that, because you want to build your protection around how quickly the quarterback throws the ball or how long he's going to throw it, from not only a schematic standpoint, but from a technique standpoint for your O-line. How aggressive they are or how passive they are in their sets is determined by the quarterback's drops and how long he might have the ball. That's the easiest answer I can give you. Stick draw, basically, Chris, is a theory where you've got probably an inside stick. So 3-by-1 is the best theory I can give you. 3 runs a 5-step hitch or a stick route, 2 runs a flat route, 1 runs a vertical. It's a 6-man box. Your O-line's got to declare the 4 down and the front side, or I'm sorry, the backside inside linebacker. So we're running zone left. We're going to lock the backside of our zone, and we're going to leave that backside inside linebacker unblocked. And then our quarterback is going to read him. If he goes out underneath the stick route, we're going to hand off the inside zone. If he sits in the box, we're going to throw the stick route. So it became known as the stick draw theory, because the timing in the backfield looked like a draw play, because the quarterback was actually it looked like draw mechanics, even though it wasn't. The quarterback was reading a throw first, then handing off second. So that's where stick draw came from. And the route concept on the front side was what's been forever known as stick. So, yes, stick and snag are worth it to carry. The reason they're worth it to carry is the different leverage that they create off of apex defenders. It's the same picture to your quarterback. All the routes end up in the same places. It's just different guys running the routes. So now you have, if they have an apex defender, let's just say 3-by-1, for example, you have snag and you have stick. Depending on where the apex and the leverage is, sometimes stick is a good throw, sometimes snag is a better throw. So football, I think it's very much worth it to carry stick and snag. Same picture for the quarterback, similar throws. Receivers end up in all the same spots. It's just different guys doing it. Sprint out flood has stood the test of time, Josh. I don't think you can go wrong with a flood theory with sprint out. Sprint out smash has always been a good theory. Sprint out curl slide or sprint out curl curl, double spots, however you want to look at it, has always been a good theory. So, flood, smash, curl flat, those have all been good sprint out theories forever. Yeah, Willie, I agree. I think the best thing about stick and snag is it's all the same throws for the QB. Theoretically, I know the routes and where they settle should probably end up in the same spots. I know the stick route and the snag route are a little different, but where they settle are the same. The corner route and snag and the vertical route by number one is very similar as far as where the ball is thrown. Type of throw may be a little bit different. I get that. And then the flat route component of stick and snag is very similar. So it's I think stick and snag are very complementary. No, I don't think so, Hefe. I don't think so at all. If you were that good at inside and outside zone and your kids know it and your back knows it, I wouldn't mess with that at all. Now, when you say more sophisticated, Hefe, maybe carry more actions or movements off a wide or more RPOs off a tight. But if you got those numbers with a sophomore running back that's first team all league and he knows how to run inside and outside zone or wide zone, I wouldn't change that at all. Again, my opinion. I'd kill to run only inside and outside zone with good. We've got two backs that I absolutely love that are both young, one ninth grader, one 10th grader, and I think they would be really, really dangerous zone backs, and that's why we're going to go back to it if we can get good enough up front. If I had two young kids that I liked running wide zone and tight zone, I would not change one bit because how that kid reads the wide zone and the tight zone is hard enough. Once he gets it and he's that good to be all league, no. I'd be coming back with that all day. Unless your boss is telling you something different than you do what your boss wants. But if I was your boss, I would say throw some reverses in, maybe some motions or shifts to wrinkle it a little bit. I would say throw in eye candy, but I would keep those schemes the same, and I would maybe wrinkle a formation or a motion or something for eye candy. But I'd kill Hefe to be in your situation to come back with a sophomore back. That was an inside outside zone kid. We all do. That's not just your boss, Hefe. That's all of us. We all think we need more plays. Yeah. It's always hindsight is 2020, Greg. I think you live and you learn all the time and figure it out. And if the kid's a good zone back, then let him live. But honestly, I think your decision should be made from the front going back with what your O line does better, and then let your back figure it out from there. But if the O line wasn't very good at blocking inside zone, I wouldn't care how good my back is. I would block something that they can block. I think I mentioned this the last time that we talked. But speaking to your point, Willie, when guys talk about downhill or physical running game, if you watch the 49ers play or you watch the Titans play with Derrick Henry, if you tell me zone is not a physical run play, maybe it's not a physical run play in high school because we don't teach it well enough. Maybe it's not a physical run play in high school because those kids aren't good enough. But if you tell me theoretically the philosophy of zone zone is not a downhill running play, I would 100% beg to differ because I watch those NFL teams and the inside zone is a smash mouth, get after your ass run play. Yeah, we've had a lot of success with running quarterbacks. We've had a lot of success in the read game. We've had a lot of success with a quarterback running power counter off a jet sweep and other things. It just depends on the kid. Insert ISO on the backside of inside zone is the cheapest, easiest way to get mileage off your zone scheme and carry RPOs and change the looks up for the defense. It is so simple. It's one or two guys are changing. Everybody else is staying the same. It is easy. I'm not saying it's easy to execute. I'm just saying as far as teaching, it is easy. Yeah, I agree. If it's run like duo and you don't let them bounce, uh, then yes, that's going to be physical. But I just look at the NFL and watch those guys run zone, and if that's not a physical run play, I don't know what is. For all the guys out there that talk about power, 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 run power often, the mother lode of all run plays. If you study NFL football and you watch it, I don't know if power is the most called run play in the NFL. Now, don't say that on Twitter and don't say that in the social media realm because you'll get your ass kicked off, and those guys will have a heart attack. Power is the mother lode of all plays. If you say RPO, they say run people over. If you say RPO, they say run power often. But if you watch NFL football, which is the highest level of football that we can get to in our country, I beg to differ if you think power is called more than zone. Those guys don't want to hear that, and they'll tell you that we're not in the NFL. I get it, but if you're going to tell me that that's the hang your hat play in football, I'm going to tell you otherwise because it's not in the NFL. Obviously, James, you this time of year is crazy, but we would be starting in the spring and spring ball if we had it, and everything we would do would be with signals in the spring, and then in the summer when you have workouts and you have kids coming in the summer, you're doing a lot of work on air, just working on signals and doing a lot of tempo on air and things on air with signals. I mean, there's no time that's too soon to start it, and there's not enough work you can get. You should be repping it all the time. College football player majors education and coaching. Any advice on how to start learning how to coach the passing game? What position do you play, John? First of all. Second of all, if you play in college, go talk to your offensive coordinator or your quarterback coach or your wide receiver coach. That's where you learn the passing game. I agree. Hefe zone is the most flexible play in football, in my opinion. I think from player flexibility, I think from scheme flexibility, I think zone is. All right. So if you're a D2 long snapper, John, talk to the line coach about protections, talk to the quarterback coach and the receiver coach or the coordinator about route concepts and how they marry with protections and man beaters and zone beaters. And while you're in college playing, just use the knowledge around you. Those guys won't, if you ask the questions the right way, those guys are not going to get upset that you're trying to get knowledge. Some of them are actually going to love it because, most coaches feel good answering questions from people because it gives you a chance to talk about how you like to do things and what you want to do. And coaches inherently in nature like to talk about what they do. So, talk to those guys, talk to your college coaches, watch as much film as you can, study it while you have a chance as a player now and get ahead of the curve. All right, guys, I'm going to go about another 7 minutes. I'll keep it at an hour and 15 minutes tonight. So any last minute questions you guys got or anything that no problem, John. Where are you playing D2 ball? Great point, Willie. And if you want a future in coaching, don't become a phys ed major. Everybody's going to take phys ed as a major, and those are the least amount of jobs that are out there. So you become an O-line coach with math, science, English, or social studies, you'll have a job immediately, and you'll have a job for a long time. I have 2 to 3 social studies jobs open right now that I have a hard time filling with football coaches because everybody that responds is either phys ed or health or Delta State. Nice, good program, really good program. Don't try and be that guy. Um, yes, Michael Moore, 100%, 100% special ed. That is one of the best comments on the chat board tonight. Special ed, you'll always have a job. ELA and social studies is a great one. Hefe, try to tell him that he's not the most, he's not replacing that kid. He's the next quarterback. You don't try and replace Peyton Manning. You don't try and replace Tom Brady. You just try and win for your team the way you know how to win and the way you can help them win. The worst thing you can try to do is be those guys. Obviously, not easy shoes to fill. You never want to replace those guys, but bottom line is don't try and be them. They were them for a reason. You try to be a winner and a leader and a good teammate the best way you can. No problem, Hefe. I think that's the easiest way to go about it. It's not easy to tell that kid that, but that's the easiest way to go about it is to say, hey, look, we don't need you to be the next best quarterback in school history. We need you to be you. We need you to win games. We need you to be a leader. We need you to be a teammate. Crucible. The problem is we had extras from our PlayFast clinic that we did. So Dome decided through the pandemic to do some question of the day stuff so that they can get rid of those. They really don't have them per se in stock. So right now, I don't really know the best answer to give you. I might have 1 or 2 extra ones in my car that were from the clinic that I still use for giveaways to show on Twitter that I have never worn or never done anything with. But the problem with that is when people ask me about buying them, by the time I have to pay for shipping to you, that boonie becomes a $35 to $40 hat just so I can cover my ass in shipping. And then I don't know if it's worth its value to you to get that boonie at $35. That's why we've been the last couple months with the interest in dome hats and the interest in play fast football and the boonies and what we did with that stuff. We got to a point where people wanted play fast hats, but Dome Hats is a custom hat company, so they don't carry really anything stock, and they don't carry things that you can just get within a week, like Richardson maybe or some of those places. Dome Hats lives off of custom, and which means they have to make their hats. You build your own hat on an online hat builder, and so they live in a world of custom hats, which takes time to make. And then with the coronavirus, their factories were all overseas in places that were devastated by the coronavirus, so that kind of affected how how their products were being made and how quickly they were being made. So I can't give you the greatest answer right now, Crucible, on how you would get a play fast boonie. They're not online with Dome really, and if you got one from me, it would probably cost you too much to be worth it. That's a great answer, Project. Thank you, Michael. What happened was, we did them for about 40 days straight, and Dome is a small business and a small company, and they're kind of going through the Corona deal right now, waiting for payroll stimuluses and other things. So they've had to make some cuts in their business and how they do their business to stay afloat. So we got away from the question of the day simply because we kind of ran out of things to give away. We've got some ideas coming up. I just talked with Jeff Whitaker, the owner of Dome. Yeah, we could do that, Michael. I agree 100%. They're fun. They're great input. But here's what we learned the hard way, Michael. And I shouldn't base it off of this because whether I got 2 responses or 20,000 responses, the 2 responses to people that enjoy it, like yourself, should be more than worthwhile. But what you kind of find out was that the question of the day did better based on the giveaway. So After we started doing play fast boonies, it kind of tailed off a little bit. Then when Dome did 12 free custom hats, it spiked real high. And then when I did a play fast backpack for another company, Baker Sporting Goods, that one spiked through the roof. When I went back to a play fast boonie, it kind of tailed off. So I'll think about doing them for fun. One of the reasons I didn't want to do them for fun though was I knew that Dome, or eventually when the coronavirus went away and Dome was back on their feet in business the way they want to be in business again, I knew it was something that was really good to us. And I didn't want to run out of questions. I didn't want to kind of kill it and not have anything left to talk about. So that's kind of why we backed off. But I just talked to Jeff today, the owner at Dome, and we've got some ideas coming up that we want to do. So hang tight. I think it's going to be back. And I think I'm going to do one tomorrow with a boonie and a Play Fast Clinic shirt that I had left over from the clinic. I think I'm going to give away without Dome. It'll be the Dome question of the day, but I'm going to save Dome the hat and the shipping cost, because every hat that got shipped out, Dome paid for. So that was all their idea. I was really just a mouthpiece with my audience. I was just a mouthpiece for Dome, but that was Dome and Jeff Whitaker's idea, and I don't want to steal their thunder. That's why I don't do a question of the day with other companies. That's why I don't do a question of the day with other giveaways. When I do the backpack, I kind of do it in a different way, because question of the day was Dome and Jeff Whitaker's baby, and it was a phenomenal idea. And thanks to guys like you and everybody else, it was hugely, hugely represented, participated in, and got great reviews. So we'll bring it back, Michael. Trust me. Would your snag and stick route be three-step? We three-step snag personally, and stick is usually more of a quick game concept. I've done it both ways, to be honest with you. Covered uncovered rules for wide zone of the account. We are covered uncovered, but I think the center has to declare where you want him to go to the mic, or who you're declaring. So we are technically in a covered uncovered team, but with a mic declaration from the center. If that answers your question. Neither Charles Rose. My wife and my daughters are Florida fans, big time Florida fans. I am an Alabama fan, so 0 for 3 on FSU, Florida, Miami. Hello, David Duncan. All right, guys, at the hour and 16-minute mark, I guess I'll go to an hour and 20. Yeah, Charles, I get it. Boo. If I turn my computer and showed you, I've got 3 or 4 Florida Gator helmets. I've got one signed by Tebow and Urban Meyer. I've got one signed by the kid that plays safety for the Falcons, not Keanu Neal, but I'm going to look. Yeah, maybe it is Keanu Neal. Yeah, I think it is Keanu Neal. So I have the alternate Gator with F on one side, Gators on the other, and Keanu Neal signed it. He played at South. If it's Keanu Neal, I'm thinking of, he played at South Sumter High School, and I played in a golf outing with South Sumter. And now that you say that, Charles Road, I'll put this helmet up. Sorry about that, Charles. Didn't want to bring up any bad memories for you, but yeah, they've all been good at times. Obviously, it'd be nice when they're all good again. I think football's in a better place when they're all good. But they're they've been up and down. All 3 of them haven't been good together in a long time. I think football's really good when all 3 of them are good. I think Florida has enough talent for all 3 of them to be good. I just think it's going to be the right coaches and the right fit at all 3 places, and would love to see them all play each other and all get good again at the same time. I think college football is in a better place when they are. So, but I'm an Alabama fan, so I really could care less if any of them get good, to be honest with you. But to say it's not good for college football, I'd be lying to you. It's great for college football when all 3 of them are good. Vertical seam from the deep set eye back, hey Charlie. I remember when Mark Rick was at FSU, and they were like the greatest sprint out, sprint draw team. And Charles Charlie Ward was there, and they were doing a lot of great stuff. And so Cam Newton will have a job. I think it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of who needs a quarterback, who didn't address the need, and don't ever not good, Charles, not good. Who needs a quarterback and who didn't address the needs in free agency or the draft. But Cam Newton's too good of a player, too good of an athlete. He'll have a damn job. All right, boys, I'm going to shut it down for the night. 11:06 Eastern time. My wife already says that I'm too loud on the computer when I talk, anyways, and I talk too much. So I appreciate all you guys being here tonight. Look for the question of the day and some other things will pick back up again on Twitter. So just be patient. I get it, David. Everybody answers to somebody. Thank you, Hefe. But appreciate all everything you guys do for Playfest Football. Appreciate you coming on these YouTube live things. Great. I haven't run a lot of unbalanced RPOs, David. I'm not an unbalanced guy. I've never been an unbalanced guy. But I could see how that would be something to consider. I'm just not a big unbalanced guy. We've been unbalanced as a tempo deal, short yardage and goal line, short huddles, kind of sugar huddle, Gus Malzahn type stuff, and then coming out unbalanced, but never an unbalanced RPO team. So can't really speak on it, but it sounds like a great idea. Hefe, thanks for all the questions tonight. It's you that makes it educational. I'm just kind of talking into a screen. Thank you, Nick, for being here tonight. My Twitter, John, is CoachMac8740. So stay safe out there, everybody. Hopefully everything will be back to normal. It's getting closer to that way in some parts of the country. Hopefully all of us are coaching and playing football next year. And we'll do this live again next Tuesday night. So make sure you guys check it out. Appreciate everything you do. See you next time, fellas.